Okay, so if you read over that mythology packet, it was kind of weird, all full of family squabbles and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to kind of chart out what we can take away from that by way of outline. So first, if you remember, the origin, right, of everything in that myth was odd. Okay, so this was, remember, a creation myth, right? So we're talking about where everything came from. And so this is, a, you know, a statement by the Greeks about their values and their understanding of the universe and nature and everything. Okay, so to the Greeks, the first things that were, if you caught it, was chaos and emptiness, right? It says in the first line, in the beginning or something like that, there was a void, an empty void, which was called chaos. Now, if you think about this, empty chaos, it's a contradiction in terms, right? In order for there to be emptiness, there must be nothing. In order for there to be chaos, there must be something. And so notice the contradiction. And what that does is it avoids the sort of chicken and the egg argument of, which came first, the created or the creator. But anyway, so the Greeks don't bother ultimately answering the question of where everything came from. But from this contradictory understanding of the origins emerged three beings, right? Gaia is Mother Earth. Tartarus is the underworld. Tartarus. And finally, Eros, which is love. However, this type of Eros, where we get the English word erotic from and things like that, is really creative desire would be a better word to describe it in the Greek understanding, rather than just love. In English, a lot of our words are so large as to encompass so many ideas that they're almost meaningless. For instance, in English you can love your mom, you can love chocolate, you can love God in the same way. So the Greeks had many words for love, philos, eros, many others, and eros means a creative desire. So that was the origin of things. Now, what happens is Gaia produces a son with no father named Uranos. And then she marries Uranos. And so we have a first sort of dynasty of Uranos, the sky god, and Gaia, I guess we should put a plus sign, and Gaia, the earth goddess, right? So Gaia is earth. Tartarus is underworld. Eros is creative desire. Okay. So they have all these children, right? Various children. Many of them are monsters and giants and stuff, as the reading suggests. And what Uranos does is he doesn't allow his children to be born. So here, remember Gaia is the earth, right? So here's the earth, and the story says that Uranos plunges the children into Tartarus, where they fell for 9 days and 9 nights. Now the underworld is inside Gaia, right? So I don't know how to just pick that, but there, that's the underworld. So here's Gaia, the earth, and that's Tartarus, the underworld. Okay. So all these children are inside of her, in a way, because they are not being able to come into existence. And so Gaia gets a little upset, and she asks her children for help, one of whom, Kronos, agrees to help. And what Kronos, the plan is, Gaia gives Kronos a sickle, right, which is a curved blade. A sickle is this kind of thing, if you remember our old friends, the Soviets, this sort of like curved blade thing for cutting wheat. And so she gives him a sickle and says, hide, and when your father comes to lay with me, then you jump out and do something to him, right? And what that something is she emasculates him. So she cuts off Kronos cuts off all of his father's manhood, genitalia, the whole 9 yards. And so then Kronos becomes the new god. So we have a second dynasty of Kronos, who emasculated his father, and his sister, Rhea. Okay. And they have more children. And it's the same sort of thing. They have, various children, monsters, titans is what they're called, some of them. And Kronos then also fears what his father did to him, and so he eats his children. And when each child is presented, he opens his mouth, gulps them down in one gulp. His wife, Rhea, looks to Gaia for help, and they hatch a plan. And one of the children, named Zeus, agrees to help. And so they raise Zeus in secret. They give Kronos a rock. He eats the rock, thinking that he ate his new son. But it wasn't. Zeus comes back and brings a poisoned drink to Kronos, his father. And then when Kronos takes over, or when Kronos takes the drink, then Zeus comes out. Zeus admits who he is, and the drink makes Kronos vomit. He vomits up all of the children, and but this time he doesn't just take off. Kronos doesn't just take off. Uranos, if you recall, was emasculated, and he just sort of disappears. He's immortal, and he can't die, but he's no longer really part of anything. And part of that is because, impotence, right? Is that the point of a male, the point of a father in Greek iconography is, the male produces, the male creates life. The male penetrates, hence the symbol, right? And creates new life in fertile soil. You could think of that both in terms of procreation as well as crops, because the earth, Gaia, being fertile is what gives life. Anyway, so he's off, but Kronos does not just take off. Instead, there's a war, and so Zeus and the Titans fight it out, and eventually what happens is Zeus frees the Cyclopses and other monsters and Titans that were other monsters, giants and stuff that were in Hades, that Kronos said he would free, but he didn't. And so they help Zeus, specifically the Cyclopses, give him thunderbolts, and he's able to defeat them. And so Zeus becomes the new dynasty. And he sets up this thing, Zeus and his wife Hera and the Olympian gods. And he sets up sort of like a panel of various gods whom you might have heard of: Apollo, Athena, Hermes. There's a whole bunch, there's 12 of them. Hermes, Poseidon. And the deal is, each of these has sort of a sphere of influence. The point is that Zeus kind of sets up almost a bit of a kind of little republic, not really a republic. Maybe a parliament might be a better idea, with ministries. But he sets up a government, and it's far more just than the governments that have come before. After Zeus, there are no more revolutions among the gods. So the way creation goes is you have Uranos, who is taken out by his son. Then you have Kronos, who is taken out by his son. And then finally, you get Zeus, who sets up a lasting government. And now the implications of this. So we'll pick up on the significance and themes of this in our next section.